Welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd, designed to offer tips, strategies, and insight to empower nonprofits and entrepreneurs with sustainable win-win solutions. The Philantrepreneur Show is sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, building capacity through education and professional services.
Well, good morning and welcome to all of our listeners. This is Dr. Victoria Boyd, President and founder of the Philantrepreneur Foundation and editor of the Philantrepreneur Journal. And I'm, as usual, thrilled to bring tips, strategies, and insight for the business and nonprofit sectors. And in mentioning tips, do you know or know someone that could have some great insight and information? Then they need to be a guest on our show. We are always looking for valuable content for today's entrepreneurs and nonprofits. So please visit our website, look at the radio show page, or just submit a contact form and say you've got some information for us to share. We're always looking for those great philantrepreneurs out there in the community. But we have a great show today, but what I'm actually sort of nervous today because we have 5 more days, just only 5 days until Impact Learning 2015. It starts Monday, October 26th, and you have no idea, this last week has been crazy. Our lineup is phenomenal. Training, book signings by 3 different authors, networking. Just remember, day 1 is impact marketing. It's for entrepreneurs and nonprofits. Day 2 and 3 is social enterprise business planning. And that's for entrepreneurs and nonprofits too. But we just found that so many people out there that are launching or in the nonprofit and entrepreneurial sector, they sort of forget about the valuable assets that they have and don't take advantage of them. They take them for granted and just don't recognize the great value that can be to others. But come to discover your hidden assets and then be guided through the process, which will help develop a strong and solid social enterprise business plan. You'll walk out of there with something to use. This training is highly needed and valuable resource, especially for the nonprofits with their consistent need of unrestricted money. But I'll give you some more details about later in the show. You know me, I always bring it back. Which brings me to our very timely topic today, credit card payment processing. I was actually at an event yesterday, and they were using one of those little swipey things to take in registrations, and they had the new one, the EMV one. And me being conscious of it, I asked, is that the new one? I'm glad to see that you're up to date. But whether you're using debit or credit today, today's information is extremely important for business and consumers alike. So we all need to pay attention with the information we're going to receive today. But have you heard about the new EMV compliance requirements that went into effect October 1st? Maybe you've seen news reports. I know I've seen a couple of them. Some people complaining that it took longer to process their sale, which, hey, they're trying to protect you. But do you know really the implication of what it means for you today? That's why I'm so excited that our guest today will explain the entire thing, the whole background, everything of this EMV law and what it means for sellers and buyers. So let me welcome Clay Overlien, Senior Vice President of Financial Services for Cornerstone Merchant Services, Incorporated. Cornerstone Merchant Services was founded by CEO Chuck Lay in 2004. Originally a small family business, it quickly grew into a powerhouse in the merchant services industry. Headquartered right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Cornerstone has helped countless businesses, small and large, expand the ways they help their customers. Cornerstone strives to be at the forefront of technological advances and is always looking ahead for new ways to help fellow businesses achieve the success they work so hard for. As new developments emerge every day, Cornerstone is at the front of the class each time, ready to put that knowledge to work for organizations everywhere. Okay, Clay, welcome to the show. You have been extremely busy over the last few months getting the word out about this highly needed security feature called EMV chipping. First, I understand you've been in Nevada for over 36 years and began your career in banking. Give us a little bit more of your history and background. So welcome to the show, Clay.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Dr. Boyd. I have to tell you, you've done your homework. I know when you put a radio show together, it's not just getting on the show and starting to talk. I came to Nevada in 1980 as a trombonist with the original Donnie Marie Osmond TV show, and so we go on and do a television show, and it took a lot of pre-prep, just like you do for the radio, probably less than you're doing, and so great Job. Came here in 1980. Where my banking career began was with the original Valley Bank of Nevada here in Las Vegas, 1990. And recently, about 4.5 years ago, left City National Bank to work with Cornerstone Merchant Services as its banker liaison. And that's kind of a little bit of precursor to what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so
would you like I got to tell you a few more? I had a note here to myself. Give Dr. Boyd some of my background and bio. As I said, I came as a musician. My background is as an educator. So hence, with Cornerstone, we do a lot of educating of our clients and non-clients, and just numerous things like that. I hope that helps.
Okay, absolutely, because the core of the Philantrepreneur Foundation is building capacity through education. I, too, come from an education career. I was 32 years in the public school system, and so that's one thing that really has drawn me to appreciate what Cornerstone is doing in the community. Many times you don't see I'll say the sexiness in a merchant services company, but because some of your core values are grounded in education, it really makes your company, Cornerstone Merchants, appeal to me. And, it's one of the companies that when people are looking for those types of services, I always think of you first. You're like front of mind. But it's important that you keep education as the forefront. But, okay, you mentioned that you're the banker liaison. What does that mean?
Well, as a senior vice president, we jokingly say because I'm the oldest one in the office, I'm the senior. And in banking, titles mean a lot more than they perhaps do where I am currently. But as a banker liaison, Chuck Lay, the owner of our company and the founder, brought me on. And since I've been here in the last 4.5 years, in fact, my first year was doing everything, including just talking to well over 200 bank branches. I want to emphasize not 200 different banks, but bank branches. And I met in the first 12 months every day out and about, greeting and meeting and shaking hands. I met about 7 or 8 small community bank-sized banks, and then possibly another 6 or 8 mid-sized regional banks, and then, of course, the large interstate banks. And we became a second source for them because we're not a deposit source or a threat for them. So we were able to assist them when their current merchant processor wasn't able to handle certain items that didn't fit into their niche, like online travel, guns, ammunition sales, that sort of thing.
Okay. So you're sort of filling the gap for them.
Yes.
In the merchant service there. Okay.
And they needed a source.
Okay.
That was our biggest complaint that in banking was when our current processor wouldn't do it, who will do it? And of course, that was Cornerstone, or is Cornerstone.
Right. And when I originally came out and met with you and Julio, me in merchant services, I was clueless. I needed to know just what does it do and how will it support me and when do I need it? And that was a crucial part because, you don't always need it if your sales are under a certain point. But I was so grateful for all of the information that both of you were able to give to me so that I could really plan ahead and understand when is it advantageous for those to use it. But, what I'm getting ready to ask is right up your alley because Cornerstone is a leader in education and actively engaged in educating not only business owners, I just think everybody across the board, anyone that uses a credit card or a debit card needs to know this information.
Absolutely.
But, right. We have this EMV compliance. So let's just back up and explain what is EMV.
Well, EMV has been in use worldwide for a number of years now, and we are the last country to institute this. EMV stands for EuroPay, MasterCard, Visa. And it's not a law, it's guidelines, so it's not a required aspect of credit card processing. However, it will secure credit card transactions and make them significantly reduce the risk of data breach, credit card fraud, that sort of thing. What it means is soon, and we hope very soon, they anticipate that a 4-digit PIN will be required not only for debit cards, like everybody's so used to doing now, but also for credit cards. And it's a huge liability shift to those who are not EMV compliant. And that applies to both the merchant who is accepting the card in person, I might add, because this is where it initially applies. And it's also critical for the person that's buying at a store who does not have their chip in their credit card or debit card.
Okay, this just popped in my head, and sorry, it's not what I have written here, but
I'm good at popping in questions. Go ahead.
Should consumers reach out to their bank or whoever, if they have not received a card that has that chip on it, should they reach out and request one?
Absolutely. And your memory, by the way, of course, you're sharp. You got your doctorate, but you're remembering Julio was phenomenal. That's excellent. Julio himself banks at a large interstate bank, and when he had his card, he lost his card, so he called for a new one, and they immediately sent him another, just a regular credit card with no chip. So he called him back, and he said, "Look, I'm in the industry. I need a chip in this." They said, "Well, you needed to ask for that." And he's going, "Really?" Really? So they sent him a card with a chip. So I would suggest those people listening today and everywhere, and tell your friends and neighbors that if they don't have a chip in their card, you're right, doctor, they should call their bank and have them issue them a chip card. This is very expensive for banks to make this transition, so I think I can't speak for them, but I think they're holding off just only when they're asked right now, but it'll start ramping up. So yes, great idea, doctor. Have the people call and ask for their EMV chip cards.
Okay, because I know, like, I'm a small nonprofit still, but we're going to grow, we're going to explode. I know that. But I work through PayPal and the Square, the sliding, what they call that mobile thing. And PayPal did send out several notices about it. But in order to even get what was their free transaction, the piece you put into the phone, we now have to pay $149 just to get the upgraded one,
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, so that's going to keep a lot of, small business, they're just going to put it off because, they can still take money without it. Like you said, it's not a law, but I think they need to know some of the repercussions if they don't do it. And so I guess that will lead into maybe you need to invest and go ahead and get this EMV chip to protect yourself. And it takes me into my next question, which is, okay, how does it impact retail business owners? And I'm going to add in a negative and positive way.
Well, a business that is EMV compliant, and they will eventually, but it's not happening right now, they will eventually require, they meaning the EMV folks, will require a 4-digit PIN, which is an extra added level of security. Business owners today are subject to a lot of fraud. For instance, there is up until October 1st, I'm not exactly sure how this will be handled. I'm not a crook, but in the past, people were able to take the information on a regular credit card, that little magnetic strip, run it through a particular little machine that you could buy on the internet, I won't go into details, and copy Dr. Boyd's credit card information onto Clay Overlien's credit card, which also happens, or my debit card, which happens to have my picture on it. So I go into a store with Dr. Boyd's strip on the back of my card, my photo on the front, and my driver's license, and the business owner says, well, that's great. That's you. So we buy the products, and Dr. Boyd gets charged for music, for whatever it is I bought, a new suit, and then, of course, you charge it back. That impacts the business owner because he didn't or she didn't understand the theft involved. So in the past, and what we are still doing is we're educating our merchants to tell their employees, it really isn't always the merchant, it's the employees, that when a credit card is swiped, it's not a bad idea to look at on the machine what the last four digits of the credit card showing on the machine are, compared to the last four digits on the card you just swiped. And if those two don't match, you have a fraudulent card. With EMV, that pretty much, I believe, will go away. I'm going to be very vague, never say definitely, without a doubt, or those sort of things, because as you know, hackers and people with less than integrity-driven intentions will figure out a way to get around everything. So it impacts business owners in a positive way, because without having it, here's a very negative way that happens if they don't have it. I go into your clothing store, Dr. Boyd, and I buy my wife $10,000 worth of clothes, mainly because I've been into your store, and you don't have, obviously this is fictitious. I've been into your store today, and I noticed you don't have an EMV-capable machine. It's not able to accept the chip. So I go in and with my chip card, and I intentionally purchase $10,000, $12,000 worth of women's clothing, and you're excited. This is a big sale, and I leave your store, go to my car, call up Visa, say, I lost my card in Vegas today. Please, anything that comes through is not mine. Because I have a chip, I'm protected, but the liability shifts to you, and so they check, find out you're not EMV compliant. I get my money back, and, of course, your inventory has left the store. So that's how it negatively impacts a business owner. If I may proceed with how it impacts a purchaser, is that okay?
Sure, absolutely, yes.
Let's, on the other hand, say your store has an EMV-capable and EMV-ready credit card machine, and Clay comes in with just a regular credit card because he hasn't called his bank and asked for a chip. They haven't sent it to him. Let's say I buy a mixer for a home or a vacuum cleaner or something, and let's say that product is faulty, doesn't work, so I want to do a dispute. Because I don't have the chip, I lose. The business owner doesn't have to do anything. Of course, a good business owner would probably replace it. But hypothetically speaking, I lose. I keep the broken machine, and the business owner keeps my money. So that's how the purchaser is impacted. So we highly recommend purchasers, clients, customers, make sure they have a chip in their card, and business owners make certain that your credit card equipment is able to accept the chip card.
Yes. Yeah, that's what at the beginning of the show, I said, this is this is going to be valuable information for both consumer and businesses across the board, because it's a two-way street. It's actually protecting on both sides of whether you're the buyer or seller. It's an added level of protection. But I know you mentioned this at one of the Henderson Chamber meetings. That's where we met. Why is the United States the last country to be implementing this EMV standard?
I wish I had an answer for that. This has been in Europe since the early 90s, and I don't know why. It may be I don't have. I wish I had an answer for you rather than stumble. I really don't know. Perhaps it's like medicine, where why is the United States always the last one to have the medical authorities allow us to have the latest that Europe has always had. We tend to be the forerunner when it comes to freedom and liberties, and everybody wants to come here for that. But when it comes to credit card processing and medical, new medicines, it seems to me we're always the last one. So I wish I had a good answer for you. Reality is we are the last one, and we need to get our act together. One of the things I want to mention is regarding chip cards. The best thing a person can do is when they go into a store, if the business owner doesn't put their chip card or the credit card with the chip in the machines, stick it in the end of the machine, and it sits there for about 30 seconds. If they don't do that and they have to swipe it, that is a great referral for me. That simply means that business owner's machine is not able to accept the chip. May I add, however, all the encryptions for business owners who have an EMV-capable machine are not out yet, which is another thing. Why are we the last ones to get it? It's been a very slow and not very impressive rollout. So there are business owners who do have capable machines. However, they haven't received the encryptions. I was surprised and actually pleased to hear you were at an event where you said they used a swiper on a phone that actually accepted your chip. Did you stick it in the swiper itself? Or is it just right through?
It was the upgraded one. It was one of those upgraded ones from, it was from Square. Just,
okay.
but because I questioned being it was on front of mind again. I quit. Oh, is it the new upgraded EMV? I'm doing a show on that tomorrow. And they were like, yeah. But the thing is, they were having problems with it right then. I was like, oh.
Well, you bring up a very good subject. These swipers that are on phones, and we have those as well. Cornerstone. In fact, if I may regress a few years,
Sure.
The owner of our company worked in Silicon Valley about 35 years ago, and he was responsible for writing the codes and manufacturing specifications for most, if not all, credit card equipment processes now in use today. The shopping carts, the swipers, the machines that you see in the stores, the gateways. And so we are really on the forefront of this. And one of the things that we are very concerned about still is people using swipers. You were very wise to ask about the Square, and I want to qualify the Square as the commercial company that sells the Square. We also have the Square devices on our phones. Our concern is this. We don't know, and nobody has been able to tell us definitively, and until they do, we don't advocate for this on a huge way. Nobody's been able to tell us that the credit card information does not stay in the cell phone or the iPad that is being used with that particular swiping device. So we, as educators, want people to know that we've been told by some high authorities here that are great tech individuals. They say if you're going to use a Square device, any type of a device that swipes, use it on a dedicated phone or a dedicated iPad. Do not download or have downloaded any fun apps that you might play, games, flashlights, whatever, because there are instances of malware coming into your phone. And believe me, doctor, you don't want to be in a situation where my credit card or somebody else's credit card is breached simply because some malware in the phone was waiting for my information. You know what I'm saying there?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And in fact, the Philantrepreneur Foundation, we got a dedicated phone that, it doesn't have apps. It's just what we're calling the business line that
Good.
has that is the one that has the download for our swiping device. And
that's a wise move. And one of the things you mentioned, your foundation and nonprofits, one of the things, if you don't mind me sharing, Cornerstone works with numerous nonprofit organizations nationwide. In fact, we're in all 50 states. It's funny, a great man in history and a man as a man of faith who I had nothing respect once said in a very large and historical compilation of books, a man is not a prophet in his own country. And so people that live here in Vegas go, well, who is Cornerstone? Yet businesses in Alaska and Vermont and Wisconsin know who we are because we keep them safe. Having said that, I would always suggest that people go in and visit their credit card processor. We need to be taken and held to a higher standard than their banks. Well, I got past my thought. On nonprofits, we work with numerous nonprofits, and we do processing for them at cost. We do this because we believe the monies should go to the individuals that are intended to serve here in the community, the underprivileged, the folks the nonprofit who's giving back to the community. It's our way of giving back as well. So that's something that we'd like to let people know as well.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure I mention that again at the end of the show, and we'll make sure you have an opportunity to let people know how to contact you. But that's another reason why you're on the show, because, I saw that value in what you were doing for the sector. But what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be back shortly with Clay Overlien of Cornerstone Merchants.
The Philantrepreneur Foundation. Build your capacity with our educational programs and professional services. Learn how to be a Philantrepreneur. Maximize your social impact and maximize your revenue. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com or philantrepreneurfoundation.org to find services, resources, and training to launch, enhance, or improve your business or nonprofit strategy. While there, sign up to receive the Philantrepreneur Journal digital publication. Today's Philantrepreneur Show tip.
As you know, each session we try to bring a show tip. And our last tip, we mentioned crowdfunding as a useful strategy to generate funds for a wide variety of projects and causes, if done right. One crucial element for a successful campaign is the marketing strategy. One that is especially effective is content marketing, which is a strategic approach of creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract a clearly defined audience, with the objective of driving customer action, which is what we all want to do. It is not enough to just ask for money. It is also who you are asking.
The Philantrepreneur Journal, a quarterly digital publication reaching over 600,000 entrepreneurs and nonprofits. Get targeted exposure to reach your ideal customer with our unique Ads for a Cause, where 50% of the fee goes to support our nonprofit training and services programs. Together, we can make a difference, create impact, and build capacity. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com, Marketing Ads tab for all the details. Mention this show and get a 10% discount.
Okay, welcome back as we continue our conversation with our great guest today, Clay Overlien, Senior Vice President at Cornerstone Merchant Services. And visiting Cornerstone website, I always go out and research and look at things and try to gather more information as I'm putting the information together for the show. I see value having impact in the community by supporting local causes. And you sort of alluded to that you help nonprofits by giving them the services at cost. And with what you're doing, I was quite impressed, because that means you are an organization or a company that puts community as a vital one of your values. Let's learn more about the heart of Cornerstone. So we've been talking about the EMV and how you educate and concerned about everyone being protected, but who is Cornerstone Merchant Services Incorporated?
It's basically a family-owned business. Charles Lay started Cornerstone back in 2004. Visa, MasterCard reached out to Chuck when he came to Vegas and said, we understand you're now living in Vegas. We know you have your certifications and your credentials. We'd like you to start a merchant services company there. And Chuck said, I would, but I'd like to be able to restrict. And, of course, in banking, you can't restrict. They said, well, then we can't do this. Well, they called him back 3 months later and said, okay, what do you want to restrict? And one of the things we don't do, the only thing we don't do, is adult entertainment. So he's a man of faith and respects that, and his business has grown greatly because of that. I have been educating on EMV for about the last year and a half. We've seen it coming. All the equipment that we've been giving and selling and helping people to get some, in many cases, we've just given them equipment to help them, has been EMV capable. And now, as the encryptions are coming out, they're becoming compliant. So we are a family-run business. We have a small office in Washington, D.C. We have about 7 or 8 employees here. We have 8 employees here in Vegas. We're at the corner of Charleston and Buffalo in the Acuity Financial Center. And our motto, if you don't mind me, may I share our motto with you? It's kind of impressive. We're excited about it.
That's the next question coming up.
Oh, well, very good. We're both almost psychic. Our motto is, how do you resell integrity? I can tell you, Dr. Victoria, I'm going to do something, and if I don't do it, how can I expect you to trust me the next time I come back and say, well, this time I will do it? Yeah, of course you will. Yes. No. So if somebody, for instance, we have a large client here in Vegas that everybody would know, their processor before us had been, we felt, overcharging him, and when we did a bid for them, the other company came back and said, well, we'll lower our bid. And Chuck went to the owners of this large retail company and said, well, I think that's wonderful. They'll lower their fees. Why don't you ask them to rebate you what they've overcharged you for the past 2 years, which it wasn't done intentionally, of course. We don't blame them for that, but they were $50,000 behind us. And, of course, they weren't willing to to refund the $50,000, so we won the account. And I wish I could share it, but obviously we're in a banking proprietary business.
No problem.
But you would definitely know it.
And actually, I mean, just that whole scenario of you're paying one thing and then you go out and research and you find another company that's lower, and so you look to make a change and then you call your original company, oh, yeah, well, we can bring it down. I had that experience literally just like last week with, these the television companies and things. All
and,
of this.
and negotiating is very good, but I will tell you that people who process with us, we give them a bid. We encourage them to accept the bid, and then we say, hang on to that bid every month for the next year or two. I don't care, because you're going to compare it with your bill that you get from us. Numerous times we'll compete with other people. Will compete with us. They'll say their price is lower, but curiously enough, over the next 3 months or so, those prices come back up, kind of like the old adjustable rate mortgages. So we tell people, hang on to our bid and watch it every month and see that we don't slowly ramp up your fees.
Right, and that's what was happening with us. It's personal in terms of just our home, internet and all of those things. But when you call the original company and I said, well, why wasn't I getting these discounts before? That's what I signed up for.
Exactly.
Why didn't you come in? That's all you get is, that's why we're leaving.
That's Norwegian, by the way. Sure, you betcha.
Okay. Yeah. See, now I can say, you're going into Norway. Okay. I have a comeback for them now. But
there you go.
As a consumer, that's sort of disconcerting. You say, so this whole time I've been the foolish, consumer here, not paying attention, or maybe I should have called them earlier. But they're willing to now offer you all of these extra things just because you're getting ready to go to somebody that's cheaper. I feel if you have the services cheaper, why can't we as a consumer get it for that price anyway? So
exactly. Put your best foot forward, as they say, right?
Right, but also I have to accept that I come from a giving mindset, and it often gets in my way. I tend to give too much away, but I have to switch into that profit side. But it's as a consumer, you go, wow, I feel like so stupid for not calling earlier. All these months I've been paying this. And so you mentioned your model and how it impacts your interaction with your clients. Do you have, what great things or what key things do you want the listeners to really pay attention to, not only in just who they select as a merchant service for their business, which I know there are probably several bullet points, but just across the board, we've talked about keeping your invoices and watching them, but what would be some of the key things that you as a merchant service company might tell a business, anybody to look for as benefits in a company?
First and foremost, the company should be performance-based. Their clients should stay with them not because they're locked into a contract and are forced to stay with them, but stay with them because the pricing and the service and the security is of the utmost importance to them. And we don't have contracts. Some people have thought, well, that's a bad thing. It means my pricing isn't secured. Well, pricing is not secured by your local merchant processor. Visa, MasterCard, and Discover and American Express control the pricing. But you should not be locked into a contract. Your company should be performance-based. You should be able to leave them at any time you wish to leave them. Number two, you should never lease equipment, a piece of equipment that might only be worth $600 or $700 at $50 a month for 3 or 4 years, triples in price if my math is close to being correct. You should also, and most people don't do this, go visit the merchant processor's office and find out who's transferring your money every single day. They go to their bank at least once a week, but they don't seem to care about, they do care, I'm sorry, but they should care more by going and visiting the people that are actually handling their money. If I came to your business every day and picked up the money, you'd do a little bit of a background check on me. Of course, it's electronically transferred, but hey, that's even harder to find, especially if it goes offshore someplace.
I absolutely, on several points, I absolutely agree with you, and you've probably noticed that, I went out and talked to several merchant services. I came to your office and talked to a couple other companies in the community because, first of all, I didn't know what I was looking for, and so I figured I better do my research on, okay, what are some of the things I need to look for. But in mentioning, not leasing it, because most of them, they want to lease you the equipment, and that's sort of what held me back, because we don't use our equipment consistently every month. But speaking of equipment, should they how often, because you know cell phones, they come out with a new version like every 2 months. Do the equipment that is associated with credit cards, do they expire or should they be updated often?
Well, of course, now with these EMV guidelines, many folks will need to get a new card machine. And as the benefits provided for the Metro Chamber for businesses who are doing a certain amount of processing, generally speaking, 15 to 20,000, we're actually giving the equipment, especially for the chamber members, but we're willing to flex on those things as well. A machine, we've been, as I say, giving out and selling and loaning machines for the past year and a half, that in anticipation of the compliancy coming here, with the EMV being here now. To answer your question, yes, there are some machines that are out of date and they still work. The problem with that is the risk is there. They're old, and the guys that are looking to breach and steal information can get into those easier. Generally speaking, what I have seen in the last 4.5 years, a good piece of equipment will last. Will not come to end of life for probably 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years or so. So that's kind of a vague, generic answer. If you have a question, just call us at Cornerstone, and we'll tell you. You can take a picture with your phone, and we'll tell you if it's going to be end of life and if it's a secure machine.
Okay, yeah, because we all go into different establishments and see all different types of machines, and just being more aware of the security issues, in this conversation today made me think about, okay, so if I see some of these old machines, maybe, I need to tell, you need to go call Cornerstone and get upgraded here. But, it's making me think in the future, because we're looking at opening an actual facility, a building, and we will need, credit card processing and all the amenities at that point. So, I'm putting all of this in my notebook of things to do and people to call and expertise I need. So I'm going to sort of summarize. If you're a business or a nonprofit out there, if your machine is pretty old, you probably need to check to see if you need to upgrade it. If you're looking to upgrade, or if you have not, what I call, reviewed your services, maybe you need to give Cornerstone a call, because I know I've seen where you do comparative services, really showing and do an analysis of how they're handling or what they're doing now and some of the support that you can help do that. So those are important things that Cornerstone can offer for you. So, Clay, just looking at all of the advantages, disadvantages, why do you think Cornerstone Merchants, and I know we've brought them up quite a bit, is unique in terms of providing just that little extra touch of services if businesses, nonprofits are either exploring changing their merchant services or coming to you as a new customer?
Well, I want to encourage folks to understand and sincerely understand that we have no sales pitch. We do a lot of resource work. We have people that will call us who are processing with somebody else, and they say, is this normal? Is this right? And we'll tell them, yes, it's normal. Don't worry about it. For instance, PCI compliance. We won't go down that path today, but it's been around for 6 or 7 years. People will, how come I'm getting this extra fee? Well, you didn't complete your PCI form correctly, and perhaps we can give you a hand on doing that. The serendipity of serving before you make a sales pitch is people will generally come back to you because they appreciate the information. So I want to assure people there's no pitching with us. We don't hard sell. If you walk in and say, I don't want to save this much, I don't trust this, I don't like it, we say, not a problem. Call us with any time, and they can leave. There are some business owners that would say, no, keep them here, make a sale. We'd rather say, look, if we can educate you, you'll come back one of these days, that kind of thing. So, and I forgot the question. But I would say that's probably the most important thing to know is we want to be a resource, a trusted, integrity-driven resource, and not all concerned about pitching somebody and bringing them on board. We'd love to have people as our clients. We believe they're safe safer with us. We can go into this on another call, but if I could have the privilege again. But we are big on security, and we educate all day long. And people who are not clients, I'm still happy to sit down and give them some better ideas as to how to save money with their current processor. If that's some people process with their brother or their brother-in-law, and that's, I understand that situation. So we'll say, well, here, call your brother-in-law up and say to do this, and you'll reduce your savings, or you'll increase your savings by $50 a month or something.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you made the distinction between selling and serving, because I've given training before when some people are going into the entrepreneurial area or opening a small business, and they are fearful of the word sales. And it's not about thinking about sales. It's about how are you serving and solving the problem of the person that you're trying to help, because whatever it is you're selling, what product you have, solves somebody's problem. And so it's a matter of serving them, showing how you're serving them, and helping them get to a better place. And those are words that I always use, and I'm glad that you came and brought it to the forefront, that your focus at Cornerstone is to serve the community and not to sell them. But in doing that, you can provide them with a great product and services along the way. It's just sort of wrapped up what Cornerstone, just the whole term Cornerstone is. You're the support system that holds everything together.
I'm going to give you credit for this. I just wrote down on a piece of paper here. I said, we don't sell, we offer, and we serve. Okay. And that's that's the first time I thought of that idea. So congratulations, you just encouraged me in what do you call it? Anyway, you got me thinking of differently, and that's awesome. We don't sell, we offer.
A whole infographic. Yeah, I have a whole infographic of the difference between selling and serving, and what we do is serve, but yet in the outcome will be that they will have a better product and services for what they need to accomplish, that in turn solves the problem that they have.
Absolutely, very good.
Okay, so all of this information, I hope the listeners really took some notes. But if they want to reach out to you, because I have personally come and sat in your office and talked to your team, and like I said, I was quite impressed. I know when the time comes for our foundation to go with the merchant service, we'll definitely be visiting you first. But this is your time to. How can people connect with you? How can they find you? Because I think they need to reach out to you to make sure they totally understand what's available to them, what will work best for them, and why they need to be highly aware of the EMV compliance. So give us all of your business detail and contact information, how to reach you, Clay.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm going to give people first my email. I believe people they don't feel like they're pressured on an email. They can sit and think about it for a couple of days if they like. My email is clay@cornerstonemerchant.com. That's merchant singular. clay@cornerstonemerchant.com. Our toll-free number is 888-399-3111.
Great. And also, they can always come and look at the archives of the show.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How about our website?
The website is on the archives. It's going to be, whenever we do a show, we put all of the contact information right there. Listeners, you can find our show on not only the blogtalkradio.com/Philantrepreneur, but also our YouTube channel. Generally, these shows are available within about 7 days on the YouTube channel. You can always listen to it immediately right after this. But the archives are full of information, and you can find the contact information for Clay and Cornerstone Merchants. Once again, Clay, it has been a great conversation. You brought a lot of information. I hope our listeners will take heed and reach out to you, but also that they've learned something, a little bit about how to protect yourself with the new EMV compliance that went into effect October 1st. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for taking this time. I'm looking at the clock, and it's flown by. Thank you, Doctor, and God bless. Have a great week.
Okay, thank you for being in, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon. Okay, as I wrap up the show here, here's my last plug. It is not too late to register for Impact Learning 2015. It starts in just 5 days. If you get your registration in before this Friday, we can have all of your material ready for you. Monday, once again, is Impact Learning if you want to register for just that one day. If you are listening to this show, I'm giving a special 2-for-1 offer. Go and pay for just the Impact Marketing Day online, and then in the comment box, just fill in a guest. That is, you can bring a guest and put the code 241, and that's all numbers, 241, and you will be able to register and bring a guest with you. All the information about it is on pfimpactlearning.info. Did you know, and I just mentioned it, that you can listen to all of our shows on YouTube? We have over 50 shows up there on our archives. Go visit the YouTube channel just the Philantrepreneur. Here, I'm stumbling in terms of what it's called. It's called the Philantrepreneur channel. Access to all the past shows and this show currently. Join us for our next show, where we will greet another great guest with tips and insights for your success. In the meantime, we ask, are you a Philantrepreneur?
Thank you for tuning in to the Philantrepreneur Radio Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd. Get involved. Follow us on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you wish to share comments or suggestions or appear as a guest on our show, visit www.thephilantrepreneur.com. Contact Victoria Boyd. Email her at theboyd@thephilantrepreneur.com. The Philantrepreneur Radio Show is a production of and sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.